Nollywood producers and directors are destroying the image of Igbo culture and Igbo history. In an attempt to always produce fresh content for the viewers, these producers, directors, and yes, even the actors and actresses themselves, you know, do a disservice to Igbo history and culture by promoting and visualizing lies about Ndi Igbo. Now, with this, I'd like to welcome you to another interesting episode at voiceofthesun.com. Today, we'll be discussing about the portrayal of Igbo culture and the telling of Igbo history by Nollywood, especially those of them who are Ndi Igbo. You know, how they have through movies portrayed lies and misconceptions about our history and our culture. Now, number one on this list is our spirituality, Ọdịnanị Igbo. We have lots of movies where all the masses or all the viewers see concerning Igbo spirituality is just a native doctor tying red clothes, you know, talking about the gods and always portraying the gods as bloodthirsty, always testing for human blood, human sacrifice. She must be sacrificed, he must be sacrificed. The gods are angry, everybody is dying, you know, all of that. There is no portrayal of the certain concepts about Ọdịnanị Igbo, you know, the religion of Ndi Igbo. There's no portrayal of Chi, there's no portrayal of Agu, there's no portrayal of Ndi Ichie, there's no portrayal of certain household deities, Akwali Omumu, you know, there's no portrayal of Anyanwu Agbala. All of some of this, they are stories and not stories, they are aspects of our religion as Ndi Igbo that is not infused into these movies. Always, it's always about human sacrifice, always about the gods are angry, you know. There's no real portrayal of what and who a complete Igbo Dibia is in our movies. And this, over the years, has painted our religion as Ndi Igbo in a bad light. Now, most outsiders now see, or people who are not conscious enough, even within ourselves, Ndi Igbo, now see Dibias as, you know, people who are attached to blood. I will call them bloodsucking gods or deities or whatever. Meanwhile, that is not true. That is not true. That is one aspect. Number two on the list is this constant need to always have movies about blood money, rituals, and all of that, you know. And for a man to be successful, he has to go and his mother has sacrificed his mother, or sacrificed his sister, or sacrificed the wife. You know, all of this, there's too much of it out there, which now makes it seem as if Ndi Igbo there's no successful Igbo man who is not into blood money or who's not a ritualist. And this is wrong, because Ndi Igbo are some of the most hardworking people you will find in every endeavor, in business, in education, wherever you go. We have hardworking people who succeed through years and years of learning, implementation, and hard work. The likes of Innocent, Peter Obi, you know, we name them. We have billionaires, even down to like me, and I have friends who are businessmen and traders. I know a young boy who was taken from the village from a very poor background. Lots of young boys taken by his master, Ogaba boy. He was 7 to 8 years. After that, they settled him with just something small, 1 million, 2 million, sometimes even 500,000. And this boy begins to wear just a few clothes he has, you know, looks for a small. Some of them even continue living in their Oga's house. Try to save, eat twice or even once a day. Try to save, struggle, and after some years, in business. He's doing well in business, you know. And then he comes out tomorrow, he marries, he has cars, he begins to do investments, build houses, you know. You will now come out because of the notion we've portrayed in our movies. After I say no, that is a ritualist. Meanwhile, he suffered to make money, to save, invest, and build his wealth, his or her wealth. This ritualist aspect is one aspect that Nollywood needs to cut down on, or even just abandon it as a project entirely. But because they need to do fresh content, so go on and rituals, blood money, and that has now become like a face of the heart of the average rich Igbo man or woman. Number 3 on this list is the production of movies that suggest that Ndi Igbo had kings. You know, kings who their words and decree is to be obeyed, and you know, kings who command so much power like other parts of the world. Meanwhile, it's not true. Every day we are met with images of Your Highness, His Royal Highness, your Lordship, the King, Her Majesty, you know. Excuse me. And all of that. These things are wrong. Aside from the few places where we had social, cultural, social, and even priestly kind of kings. For instance, they had a priestly kind of king who can even come out and say the village should shut down, and everyone will shut down. Nri has a king, Obi of Onitsha. Across the Niger, Nda Anyoma, you know, the Obi of Iseluku, and a couple of other parts of Anibo that we had some form of rulership, you know, before the missionaries came. But even though we had this royal household, they did not command, you know, they did not command the destinies of the people of that town, you know, just how it is portrayed in Nollywood. Mbano. It's not so. Some of the kings we have today now, Igbo Nka, I will not call names, but Igbo Nka, most of them were warrant chiefs. Some of them were even just ordinary people who were taken by the British and imposed on their people. Warrant chiefs over the years now turned into kings and Ezes and Igwes like we have them today, who are under the employ of the state government or the federal government or whatever, who have staffs of office given to them by the state government or the federal government. But when you come down to the people themselves, that particular person does not have the right to say, don't open your gate, or I can take your family, or whatever. All those things you see in Nollywood, all those things Nollywood portrays. Yes, they got it from these new warrant chiefs who now carry themselves about as Igwe Nka. But the repetition in these stories, the way they now flock our views, there's no day you go on any of the African magic channels that you don't see Igwe this. Oh, your highness, your loyalty, it's now the only story they tell about an Igbo. Because producers and directors of Nollywood, this has to stop. It has to stop. If you must tell a real story about a royal family in an Igbo, look for the ones who were there before the British. And when you're telling the story, tell the story the way they relate to their people. Not being absolute rulers who have subjects. Nanibo, we have subjects. We don't have subjects in Nanibo. Excuse me. So this is these are some of the things that we must address when it comes to the image Nollywood portrays Makandibo. Yes, there are a couple of, you know, producers who do their best to portray who Ndibo really are. There was this movie, it's called, I think, Ojuku. Yes, it was on Rock by Mary Njoko. And I think what's his name? Ernest Obi was also in that movie. They did their best to portray the Igbo judicial system, how cases were judged in the past. They did their best to portray the family structure and a couple of other aspects of Igbo culture and Igbo life, Igbo worldview. You know, even though at the end they now infused the coming of Christianity, right? But they did their best in that movie to portray who Ndi Igbo really are. So yes, I must give them kudos. And also there are also other producers who do their best to tell the Igbo story around Igbo society now and what Igbo society was. You know, portraying our culture right, portraying our tradition right, and portraying our and telling the stories of our history the right way. And to these people, we must also give kudos. Jisimi ike. So, umunnem, there are lots of stories to tell. There are lots of stories to tell for those of us who are directors and producers, executive producers. You know, where are the movies about the Ekumeku movement, the Ekumeku war that lasted for 31 years, where Igbo soldiers, you know, resisted British terrorism and invasion, you know, for 30 years? Where are the stories about where are the movies about the Igbo experience in the amalgamation of Nigeria, you know, and the coming of the missionaries? Where are the movies about the Aba Women's Riot, Aba Women's War? Where are the movies about important and iconic men such as Sir Louis Ojukwu, the father of Chukwuemeka Ojukwu, who was the first billionaire, you know, in Nigeria? Where are movies about Nnamdi Azikiwe, the great Zik of Africa? Where are the movies about Chukwuemeka Ojukwu himself and his fight for Ndi Igbo, how he saved Ndi Igbo during the war? Where are the movies about Sam Mbakwe, you know, the first democratic elected governor of Imo State and one of the best leaders we've had, you know, in Igbo? Where there are so many. Where are the movies about literary giants such as Chinua Achebe, who known as Chinua Achebe? Movies about Flora Nwapa. She was a writer too, very just as popular as Chinua Achebe. You know, where are the movies about the Republican nature of Ndi Igbo? You know, evident in our Umuokpo, Umuada, Umunna, Yomona. There's so much about Ndi Igbo that movies can be made about. You know, where are the movies about Dick Tiger and Power Mike? Movies about Oliver De Kokwe or Sadebe Morocco, Madoka, and other musical legends, you know, we've produced in Igbo. And there's a whole lot we can do. Excuse me. There's a whole lot we can tell. There's a whole lot of stories we can tell as Ndi Igbo. And yes, in as much as we know that certain types of movies can be very costly. Yes, in cases where we've gone, we employ our producers to go ahead and make international partnerships, look for foreign investors for big movies, you know. Like if you want to do a movie about Nnamdi Azikiwe now, it wouldn't be a normal something you go to Asaba to go and do, you know, or a movie about Ojukwu, or a movie about the Ekumeku. Because yes, we know this. Even as we were saying this, that these movies need to be done. For the smaller movies, a big kono, let us try to paint the right picture, especially the easy movies you can make about the villages. Let us try to portray Ọdịnanị right. Let us try to portray our society right, having Umunna, Umuada as the major points of authority we have, and not Igwe, Your Highness, Your Lordship. So with this, I'm going to come to an end of this particular episode. Let us do our best in portraying the image of Ndi Igbo. Iwulo onye Igbo, gbambo. Whatever the movie that you want to produce, make sure that you're portraying the right image about Ndi Igbo. And Ndi Igbo in turn will appreciate that movie and push it beyond the shore of Igbo. Like we've seen in movies such as Lionheart by Genevieve. She showed the enterprising nature of Ndi Igbo in that movie, and that movie, you see how far it went. So with this, we've come to the end of this particular episode at voiceofthesun.com. I remain my humble self, Chukandune Soku. I'm an editor and a teacher at voiceofthesun.com. Feel free to drop your comments and opinions wherever you find this video, on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. And yes, we'll always be here to receive those opinions. You can also send me an email at newsdesk@voiceofthesun.com. And yeah, it's been wonderful having this discussion with you, and I hope to see you on the next episode. There, man.